Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. We've got a MacBook Pro in today, and I don't think I need to tell you what we're doing with this one today. So we've got cracked glass, we have a cracked LCD. This was cracked by behind impact on the back of the screen, right on the Apple logo here, which has pierced the LCD behind the glass. Glass was already broken, however now the LCD is smashed from behind as well, so we need to completely rebuild the display assembly, and we're also just going to try and tidy this thing up. We'll find a new escape key for it, physically clean it up, we'll see if we can do anything about the feet on the bottom. Just generally, we're just going to make this thing not a wreck anymore. So yeah, let's get started. So first of all, I'm just going to take the bottom off and do a visual inspection on the inside, and then we're going to crack on and remove the display assembly because that's got to come off one way or the other anyway. So let's drill these screws out. Good gravy, what a mess. Gross. Right, okay, this thing does actually have an SSD already fitted to it, so the performance shouldn't be too bad if we give it a software service. And the interior is just full of dust. This thing has had a hard life. The client is an art student, and it very much has a working tool kind of lifestyle, which is, you know, it's perfectly acceptable. At the end of the day, for a lot of people, their laptop, it's a tool. It gets used every day. They don't have time to be wrapping it in cotton wool all the time. But unfortunately, a lifetime of that kind of treatment will end up with something that looks like this laptop. But the good news is it's all fixable. So let's take these hinges out, then we can undo the display screws and get the screen off. And then once we've done that, we'll give the body a bit of a clean up as well, and we can just start working on that. So let's tweezer stuff out. Okay, right, that's our display assembly off. Well, I'm just going to go and give this thing an airline just to get the worst of the dust and grit off of it, and then we'll get to work on that display assembly. Alright, looking nicer already. So we'll go around this with a toothbrush and stuff just to get the grime out from the edges and things later on, but not of major concern right now. This evening I really want to get to work on this display assembly. So what we're going to do, we're going to get this front glass off and get the broken LCD out, so we can just check what parts we need and stuff like that. So to start gaining access, we're going to remove the hinge cover. So I'm just going to slide that to the right and just sort of work it off. This one's coming off really easily because it's broken to hell. I've probably got a not broken one somewhere. I'll have a look around, see if I can replace that. But it doesn't matter, it's only cosmetic. Okay, so that exposes our hinges. Hinges are super loose, so we can tighten those up. Same deal on that side, yeah, same deal. These things very rarely actually break, they just become really loose, and that just makes the screen very wobbly and very floppy. So we'll sort those out. Let me think. Actually, I'm just going to tighten those now because I don't want them to fall out while I'm working on it, because otherwise they'll probably lose the screws, and that's going to suck. So we'll just get the T6 onto those and tweak those up. There we go, that's better. Alright, it's hairdryer time. So now we're getting out the hairdryer. You can use a heat gun if you want. I prefer hairdryers because they're less vicious. You're much less likely to damage something with a hairdryer. In fact, I've never damaged anything with a hairdryer, so I feel a lot more confident using one of these. And we need to put a crap ton of heat onto this glass. We've got to warm all of that right up and heat the glue, and then that's going to allow us to get our prying tools under this. So let's get heating. So I start out by putting some heat across all of the screen just to warm up the glass and take the chill off of the entire display assembly. And then I focus down right on the edge and get the heat up to around about 60 degrees C. Once we've got that heat into the glue, we can start using the prying tools to pry the glass up off of the display assembly. Now, because the cracking on this screen is very severe, I'm going to have a bad time with this one and it's going to come off in pieces. If you have just like 1 or 2 very clean cracks, you can sometimes get the whole thing off in a single go. It's even possible to remove it as a single piece of glass if it's uncracked in order to replace an LCD that's been cracked from behind. However, on this one, because it's smashed to smithereens, it's coming off in pieces. So as you can see, I'm just going around the edges, taking it off bit by bit, and as soon as things cool down, we get the hairdryer out and bring it back up to temperature again. So I have a thermometer to help me out here, just to give me a rough guide, but really you just want everything to be sort of pleasantly warm to the touch. Okay, right, I think we're ready for the big rip now. Now, because this big crack down here, there's no way I'm going to be able to lift these two together. So I may as well try and get this bit off now and get most of the glass out of the way. So I'm going to work my hand underneath. Because I have a broken LCD, I don't need to worry about my hand touching the LCD. If I didn't have a broken LCD, I would be a lot more careful removing this bit. However, I can be really cavalier here because we're just looking to strip it all out. So I'm going to try and get my hand as close to the bottom as I can and just very slowly lift. It's going wrong. It's gone wrong. No. No, I did not get away with that. Sometimes you can get all of the bottom strip in one go using that method. That time I did not. So yeah, that's the end of that. I'm going to recover this metal bit from the top there, and we're going to reuse that just to cover the webcam up again. Okay, now it's back to stripping bits off. Right, now all our glass is removed, we're going to take the LCD out. Obviously, if you're just doing front glass only, you can just very carefully brush this down, remove any fragments of broken glass, and then you're good to move on to applying your new glass panel. But we've got to get this broken LCD out. I very rarely get through one of these without bleeding somehow. Then these two screws at the bottom. Okay, and now I'm just going to pry the LCD upwards a little bit at the top, just enough to get my fingers underneath, and I'm going to slide it upwards. And as I do so, I just want to push the LCD cable into the hinge, just so it follows through. We're going to have to, we're going to have to loosen off the, we need to loosen off these antennas as well. On some models you need to do this and on some you don't. There we go, that's better. Okay, so now we've exposed the display connector, we can detach the LCD itself. Just peel that back. Unlock it and disconnect it. Okay, and there's our broken LCD gone. Right, and now I'm just going to use some brushes to just brush any fragments of glass off of the display frame. Cool, and if in doubt, just tilt your display frame in the light just so you can see the glint of any other bits of glass that are in places they shouldn't be, or rather if there's any glass at all, because there should be no glass left. Good, there we go, there's a little bit. Let's get you out there. Very carefully pick you out. Whoop. There we go. Alright, so also on mine, because we had impact from the back here, our Apple logo is cracked. I'm just gonna, that's not sticking out though. If this had a big old bump in it, we'd have to take this Apple logo out and replace it with one from another display. But that's not actually intruding into the laptop, so we're okay there, that's fine. Good, that's ready for a new display. I'm gonna clean up my desk before I go any further because we've got broken glass everywhere. Okay, here's our nice shiny new LCD. So we're going to position this and I'm going to put it in like at this weird angle, and that's going to make it a bit easier to connect up. So we're going to get that hooked up and then we sort of slide it all into place. There we go. And now as I push the LCD down into place, I'm going to pull the cable back through and just guide it in. There we go. That looks good. And now we'll start putting the LCD screws back in. And we'll put my Wi-Fi antenna array back into place. Okay, right, unfortunately I don't have a replacement hinge cover, so we're going to use the original one that's a little bit beaten up, but it's not terribly noticeable, these things. They look worse when you're fitting them, but once they're all on the laptop you don't really notice it. Okay, right, we're ready for our new front glass. So let's unbox that. So thankfully these things come with adhesive applied to them. So let's remove, yeah, we'll take that off in a moment. So I need to place this in position. Where's that going to sit? I'm going to place this on the laptop itself actually, just so I can be certain that it's exactly aligned to where it needs to be. So how do you work? You go at the top or the bottom? I think you go that way round, because then the extra bit is just going to protect the wire going across. That makes sense. Good. Alright, so now comes the tricky bit where we attempt to do this but with getting no dust under the glass. So we're going to wipe the display down, make sure we've removed any visible marks from it. Come on, get off. Okay, now we're going to take off the cellophane and the adhesive cover. I'm trying to do this as quick as I can because the longer I leave it, the more dust is going to settle on that screen. Wipe down, wipe down. Whoop. And on we go. Right, so I'm just going to position this across. I'm not pressing it down, I'm just lining it all up, making sure it's sitting correctly. Okay, that looks good. Right, now I'm going to peel off the front. And we're just going to make sure that we've got nothing trapped underneath. That looks good. What side is that on? That's on the back. Damn it. Right, we've got a slight mark that's under the glass. So I'm going to very carefully lift that up and just go. Whoop. Yep, that's done the job. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going for the press down. So we're going to make sure it's in the corners. We have got a slight dent in the corner here, but thankfully the glass is just slightly undersized enough to give us that little bit of forgiveness. Right, and I'm checking again, and I'm happy. Good, okay. Let's go for the serial one. So with my hand covered in a cloth, I'm going to press that down so I can squeeze both sides of the display assembly. Here we go. Beautiful. And because the glass is brand new, every time you give it a hard look, a fingerprint will appear. But we'll sort that out in a minute. When we've got it all back on the laptop, we'll clean this up again and just make sure that it's got a nice protective layer on it. However, that display assembly is ready to go back on. Beautiful. Right, let's take another look at the body. So I gave this a dust with the air compressor, so that's looking better. I'm just going to brush this down with my paintbrush now, just to get any other loose grit off of it. This is just cosmetic, to be honest, but it's all stuff that shouldn't be in there. Alright, so we'll do some more cleaning in a minute. I'm going to put the display assembly on though now, because then I can start screwing everything back into place and there won't be these loose parts rattling around. So let's spin this round and drop the display back onto it. Ooh, I might have to adjust, I'm going to have to adjust this hinge. When I tighten the hinge screws on that, I've left it at the very extreme angle of its adjustment, so it doesn't want to fit in very well. So I'm going to quickly fix that because I can. It's annoying because I've got to take this hinge cover off again, but it's going to make screwing the display assembly back on much easier. I wonder if I can get it just in the gap. I think I can. Alright, second attempt. That's looking much better now. Those holes are all lining up on their own now, whereas previously just then, these holes here were not even remotely straight. Good. Right, let's put some screws in that to hold it all in place. Right, so we put all of the screws in loose, just to make sure that the holes are lined up. Now we're going to close the laptop screen. And we're going to make sure the laptop screen is straight with the body. Which is slightly hard to do because this one's very bashed about. That'll do. And now we know that that's as straight as it can be, we'll tighten those screws up. And we're going to give them a fairly generous bite because we're screwing metal into metal here, so we can make sure that these things stay nice and tight. There we go. And now I can start putting all this back into place. So we need the antenna cables to go underneath this notch here. Okay, right, that's everything hooked up. So let's do a little bit more tidying up with this thing. I'm just going to back this SSD out and just straighten the side of the case a little bit there, because this is a really common bend point here because there's nothing really behind here. It's just a slight gap where the SATA drive sits, and so it gets bent in very easily. However, we can remove that drive and we can just use a pair of pliers to just bring that back out again. So I'm just going to cover the metal with a cloth and just wrench that out a bit. There we go. That doesn't remove the dent entirely, it just means that it's not sitting inwards anymore. Okay, right, I'm going to grab my toothbrush now and we're just going to get rid of this grime around the edge. and I'm going to use glass cleaner for this, so ordinary glass cleaner, which is a nice mild cleaning agent. You can probably use alcohol for this as well, but I find glass cleaner is a little bit more effective for shifting dirt. Sweet, that looks a lot better. And we'll just give the back cover the same treatment now. Okay, let's screw this back into place. Okay, and I've got some old MacBook Pro covers here that I can hopefully steal the feet from. And I'm just going to use a little bit of super glue to glue these in place. And we'll just flip that over and sit it on those feet just to weigh it down. Okay, right, so our feet are now glued in place and they're not moving anywhere. We've given the back a quick once over as much as we can without de-stickering it. And we've also cleaned up the keyboard. We've replaced the escape key, which unfortunately I was not recording, which is super annoying. I forgot to hit record. And we've given the screen a wipe down with multi-surface polish, which means that's now going to resist fingerprints and stuff like that. So as you can see, this is now actually a fairly decent looking laptop again. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. It's still got a couple of marks in it, but you know, it's good enough. I will see you all next time. Goodbye for now.